and balanced.
All sorts of things, and giving people a gun is just a license to intimidate. A lot of Nigerians are ignorant of what Kemi is doing. What is Kemi doing? Kemi is subjugating our own people to make Britain look good in the face of white nationalists. It's a
Exactly, and I quite agree with this man in question, because that's exactly what this lady is doing. And it's like she doesn't know that people are already reading. There's a lot of Nigeria has a lot of intellectuals, and people will definitely read meanings to all these things that she's saying.
better terms. These white nationalists believed in colonialism. They believed that black people are subservient to them. These were the same people that sold black people in the slave markets.
Exactly, this guy is just hitting the nail on the head.
So these white nationalists have a mentality. Kemi feeds into the mentality by
Exactly, and that's exactly what she's doing.
doing something called confirmation bias. That the black people you subjugated over the years remain down. So it's good for her to say these things bad about her country so that the white nationalists and the supremacists she's trying to incur her to get their votes will continue to support her. And you know why she's doing that? Because she's also in a race with Nigel Farage of Reform Party. You have to show who is more very right wing than hardline.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. So today we want to take a look at one of these things that has been trending in Nigeria and of course around the world, as regards one Kemi Badenoch, who has been making certain comments about Nigeria and a whole lot of things. I want us to just take an editorial on this thing and see one or two things that we can learn for life and not for school.
Seems like Nigerian British politician Kemi Badenoch is angering a lot of Nigerians. And after you watch these clips, you will understand why. Watch this clip, we'll come back and discuss.
Do you trust the British police? I do. But remember my experience with the police in Nigeria was very negative. And coming to
First of all, let me point out here, this lady was asked a question here about British police. Why is she bringing up Nigeria's police with the British? All right, that's just one thing I observe. By the way, let's go on and listen.
UK, my first experience with the police was very positive. The police in Nigeria would rob us. So when people say, "Oh, I had this bad experience with the police because I'm black and they're white," I was like, "What hell?" I remember the police stole my brother's shoes and his watch.
His shoes?
Yeah, they took his shoes and his watch. It's a very poor country, so people do.
You're saying it's a very poor country. I recently made a video on MIT's report on why Africa is poor, and one of the key components that I pointed out in that video is that Africa is not actually poor. We just have poor leaders. People who are poor in thinking, in intellect. That is what Nigeria, okay, Africa generally is suffering from. But the moment we can get leadership right, Africa has never been poor. There's abundance. Africa produces resources that is powering all of Western countries in Europe, in America, and of recent now, China is also coming in. So Africa is not poor. It's actually the leadership that is poor. All right, poor choice of leadership and poor policies and all that. Those are the major issues. So this narrative that this lady is pushing, that like Africa is poor, I mean, is really, really unfounded and is not well taught and balanced.
All sorts of things, and giving people a gun is just a license to intimidate. A lot of Nigerians are ignorant of what Kemi is doing. What is Kemi doing? Kemi is subjugating our own people to make Britain look good in the face of white nationalists. It's a
Exactly, and I quite agree with this man in question, because that's exactly what this lady is doing. And it's like she doesn't know that people are already reading. There's a lot of Nigeria has a lot of intellectuals, and people will definitely read meanings to all these things that she's saying.
better terms. These white nationalists believed in colonialism. They believed that black people are subservient to them. These were the same people that sold black people in the slave markets.
Exactly, this guy is just hitting the nail on the head.
So these white nationalists have a mentality. into the mentality by
Exactly, and that's exactly what she's doing.
doing something called confirmation bias. That the black people you subjugated over the years remain down. So it's good for her to say these things bad about her country, so that the white nationalists and the supremacists she's trying to incur her to get their votes will continue to support her. And you know why she's doing that? Because she's also in a race with Nigel Farage of Reform Party to show who is more very right wing and hardline. That's the game she's playing.
As you heard, when Kemi talks about Nigeria, it's like she's painting with the same paintbrush. It's rarely positive when she mentions Nigeria. If you compare this to what Davido was saying, if you compare what she's saying to Davido, it's night and day. Davido was specifically talking about leadership and bad governance.
Exactly, and that is the real issue. That's the real issue Nigeria has. Okay, this is a more constructive person. I heard about what this guy said about he made comments when I think he was being interviewed in a podcast in Atlanta. He spoke more constructive. That's a constructive criticism. All right, that's more constructive than being destructive. What that lady is doing, that so-called Kemi is doing in UK, is a destructive comment and utterance. Because Nigeria has a huge, very huge, if not the largest community of diaspora outside of Africa. You see more Nigerians that are people of Nigerian descent that are blacks in the US, in Europe, name it, anywhere else in the world than any other African country. All right. So what she's saying is quite misplaced.
And how it's affecting the people and the economy. But Kemi, when she talks about Nigeria, it's almost like she regrets being from there. She really.
Exactly. Yes. And I mentioned in a comment of recent regarding this particular issue that what she's practically doing is that she's just shooting herself in the leg. Self-hate, when you have this self-hate, you're like shooting yourself in the leg, and when that occurs, the next thing is the person is going to bleed out. Everybody's just going to be around and watch that person bleed out naturally. It's going to bleed out. That's the implication of self-hate. So we should, as Africans, we should learn to embrace ourselves, whether it is for good or for worse. All right, let's embrace it and do the right things and keep doing the right things until the wrong things become right. All right, the wrong things are corrected and they become right.
Does not talk positively about Nigeria, which a lot of people had a problem with, to the point where the vice president had to respond to some of the things that she's been saying. Nigerian Vice President Kashim Shettima.
Yes, and I heard about what the response of the current Nigeria's vice president said about one of the aspects. I'm not actually an advocate of any political party in Nigeria. I'm more of a neutral person that just wants the right things to be done, irrespective of partisan politics. But I really liked what this man said. One of the things he said that I really, really like is that he mentioned about this the former Indian prime minister of Indian origin, that Indian guy, that while he was the prime minister for a short period, he never spoke ill of India. And he also mentioned Elon Musk, someone who also immigrated from South Africa to the US, that they never denigrated their country in any way, and so many immigrants. I really love the point that this man talked about. We should learn to have constructive criticisms, not destructive criticism. All right, you might not be like a certain set of people, but it doesn't stop you from acknowledging the truth, the universal truth. All right, this is very important.
Suggested Kemi Badenoch to remove the Kemi from her name if she was not proud of her nation of origin. Also, former presidential aide Bashir Ahmed said this to Kemi. He wrote, "Nigeria doesn't need her PR, and no one is pushing her to do so. As Madam Ngozi Hajia Mohammed Dr. Akin Adesina, and many more are already doing more than enough for Nigeria and Africa. If she really believes in her chosen country, she should stop dragging us along and find other ways to.
Exactly, you should stop dragging Nigeria along her political ambition. And it's, I don't know if she has someone who is really talking sense into her, but I'm seeing that this lady she has already shot herself in the leg, and I mean, well, let's see how it turns or runs in the shortest possible time.
Get the needed validation from her masters. Guess what her response was to this comment?
And seeking for validation is something that we need to be aware of. There's some of these people, they feel that Africa is beneath them, and people who of color, they are beneath them. This is wrong. This is very, very wrong. You should never see yourself as inferior to anybody, because everyone has an equal opportunity to make it and to be excellent.
She said, and I quote, she stands by what she says, and she is not the PR for Nigeria. End quote. This is getting ridiculous at this point.
If she's not the PR for Nigeria, then why does she keep involving Nigeria in our interactions or interviews? I mean, it really became very, very uncomfortable the way she was really portraying the country. We're talking about over 220 or if not 250 million people, and then you keep dragging them under the bus in all your interviews, in every instance. Any opportunity you've got, you're always mentioning that. No, that is out of it. That is misplaced priority, in my opinion.
The thing about this situation that is a little bit annoying, to be honest, is the fact that she keeps saying adding fuel to them.
Exactly, just like what I just said now. I never even knew this lady was going to mention this.
Why she keeps adding and including and saying more? Like, why are you? It almost feels like she's doing it on purpose.
And that's exactly what she's doing. Yes.
Feels like she's dancing to someone, and she really wants to get their attention. Which she's a politician, but she doesn't have to disregard or degrade or put down her own people in order to do that. Like, if you are a British person and all you want to accept and talk about and be proud of is your Britishness, where although she was born there, she grew up in Nigeria. I believe she went back to the UK when she was 16. So if you do not want that part of your life and you just want to focus on, I am British, right now she is the leader of the Conservative Party, and she just, got elected, and she's very happy and proud about it. So it's clear to see she loves her people, not Nigerians, the people that she is there to serve. So why not just stick to that and uplift your own? You don't have to keep picking on Nigeria, talking about all the negative things. It's never like a conservative thing that she's talking about. If it's constructive, right, you're trying to change something, or it's coming from a good place, is a different thing. But if you're talking down at your own people, and I mean, how are the people that you're trying to impress feel about this? They're gonna think tomorrow you'll turn on me.
Exactly, that's exactly what is going to go on. That's going to happen one or two ways, or not far distant. That is going to happen because she's missing that point, and these things are being recorded. So in the future, there's going to be played back, and she's forgetting that some of our children might decide to come back to Nigeria, because when that place becomes uncomfortable for her or our children, it might not be now, but it might be in the future. You have to still come back. So what are you going to come back to? People are going to be looking at your own kids that their parents were their parents were sellouts, and this is what we don't need in Africa. The problem of sellouts, self-hate, and all that kind of things. We don't really need it to develop in Africa, even in science and technology.
But anyways, what are your thoughts on this Kemi versus Nigeria debacle?
So let me have your comments. In my opinion, I feel that this lady really needs some sort of overhaul, a complete overhaul. I hope you enjoyed the video. This is Hands-On Lab Software Academy. We're into software and research and tutorials as far as software is concerned. We're also into entrepreneurship, issues that concern Nigeria's progress and Africa's progress as far as science, technology, engineering, and maths is concerned. So if you like this program and if you like this channel, please remember to thumbs up this video and subscribe to this channel. Until next time, cheers and all the best.